Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure my sound and everything else is good. I gotta be honest, I hate being on this channel. I like being on my other channel because I felt like I built my other channel. And so all the people who show up at that particular channel, you know, not to mention on that channel I can get super cash and I can't get super cash on this one. So that's also somewhat aggravating. But nevertheless, we move forward on this regardless. So I've said before that if Tusli Gabbard runs, Tusli Gabbard will get my vote. Now, my rule has been, at least for the entirety of the show, it's been rather consistent. If somebody represents your interests, that person should get your vote. That's straightforward. I don't believe in the gamesmanship of I'm going to vote for this guy in order to shaft this guy. Vote for the person who represents your interests. And if that means you're not voting for anybody, write in whoever you want to write in for. I guess the point I'm making to you is I don't want to necessarily support a particular Democrat, meaning I don't like the party. I don't want to support the party. It is a massive headwind, the fact that that woman is even in the party. But that being said, her as a person, she's done several things over the time that she's been in office that I personally have liked. Mainly, most notably, is her anti-war stance. She has been staunch anti-war, despite herself being somebody who served in the military. And there's something else. There's something else. There's something recently that I found out that I said to myself, and again, this goes into why, if she ran, she would get my vote in a heartbeat. In one of my other shows, I made the point that when, in one of my other shows, I made this point that with all of the issues that we have to deal with our elections, with all of the issues, meaning with all the things that pop up in regards to our elections, we're focusing on Russia. Now, that goalpost has moved significantly, meaning that goalpost started in one place of Trump and Russia, then it moved to, well, we can't necessarily create a link between Trump and Russia, but hey, there are these trolls, and these trolls were helping Russia and helping Trump, so hey, good enough. Good enough. They were writing Facebook ads. They were doing Twitter ads. This is essentially the slippery slope that we've fallen down, where the entire purpose of this originally has gone away, and what they're into now is this kind of Trump and business dealings and everything else. But the point I'm getting at here is I would make this argument, and I still make this argument, that of all the things that plague us in this country with regards to our elections, whether you want to talk about gerrymandering, whether you want to talk about the cash that sloshes around in our electoral system, whether you want to talk about the fact that these guys are just outright, well, like I said, the cash, these guys being outright bribed, Operation Cross-Check, throwing people off the voter rolls, the ability to be able to monkey around with the system itself, meaning people in power being able to monkey around with the electoral system. You have several issues that affect your voting. One of the other ones has to do with electronic voting, meaning many of the places in the United States where you go and vote are relatively insecure. You go in, you make your vote, and you have no idea whether that machine registered your vote correctly or not. You have to take it as a grain of salt that at the end of the process that your vote is actually counted in the correct way, in the way they were supposed to be counted. Even the appeals process, meaning even going back through in order to make sure that the votes was counted correctly, that the person who the people elected to run that particular government and that particular representative government, that person is correct, meaning that there wasn't any shenanigans with the vote, there wasn't anybody monkeying around with the vote, that nothing hacked or got into the electoral process. You as a country, particularly if you're living in a representative government, or if you want to call it a democracy, it's a representative government, but still, either way, you should want to know that your elections are secure. Now, with all of the Russia hysteria, people have been screaming at their lungs about Trump and Russia hacked us, all this stuff, being very slippery with the terminology of what they mean by hacked and very slippery what they mean by collusion. Fact is, no one in this process made the choice on, let's fix the election process. Let's fix it. If you guys care this much, if you guys are this concerned, if you're screaming that we've been attacked by Russia, if Russia, the barbarians are at our gates, if this is where you are, then it makes perfect sense to me, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, to say, let's secure our electoral system. Let's not do this thing of let's completely focus on Russia because there were some Twitter and Facebook ads. Let's secure our electoral system. One of the ways that you can do that is with paper ballots. You have a trail, meaning I know who I voted for, and there's a sticker or there's something that I can associate with it to say, here's a paper ballot. This particular paper ballot represents my vote, and at any time I can match that vote up to make sure that that vote total was correct. None of the shenanigans of the black box votings. The people should know who they voted for. Now, Tusli Gabbard put in to secure the electoral system, and she's pushing a measure for paper ballots. If all of these people are not just using this as a means to attack Trump, meaning if they're not using the Russia hysteria just as a proxy for attacking Trump, if they're serious about being terrified that our elections were being undermined, that our elections were being attacked, if they're honestly serious about all these things, that there are vulnerabilities in our electoral system, if they're serious about it, then they need to take up her bill. They need to take up her bill. Because the bill makes perfect sense in the world. You have a lot of people in this country who don't necessarily look at our elections as being fair and honest, and they certainly don't necessarily trust the in-ballot. This is not just people on the right. This is also people on the left. I'm ensconced in the left. This is my section of the sandbox. There are a lot of people on both sides of the political spectrum that don't necessarily trust the voting mechanisms in this country. This will go a long way towards dealing with that. It's one thing to be hysterical about Russia. It's another thing to actually put forward solutions to try to deal with the particular issue. If you honestly believe there's a threat from the standpoint of cybersecurity and that our elections need to be secured, and I have no issue with that at all. I don't like this specific focus on Russia. You have plenty of actors that may be trying to actively influence the electoral system. That's everywhere. Every country does it. The United States does it. Other countries do it. I'm not necessarily shocked by that particular reality. But if you actually want to do something about it, you don't just want to scream that the sky is falling. If you actually want to do something about it, well, she's putting forward legislation to do something about it. Fucking A, Tusli Gabbard. This is her talking about the bill itself. And this one is not necessarily going to be long, but I do want to... I'm usually down on Democrats and Democratic representatives because I think those people, for the most part, are just absolutely sold out. Republicans are straightforward in their representation of the 1%, but Democrats have to put out this fig leaf as if they're actually working for the people's interests. Thing is, brass tacks, I don't care what you tell me you are. If you're going to have to tell me that you're deeply progressive, I'm probably going to disbelieve that. Hillary Clinton will call herself progressive. Obama will call himself progressive. All these people will call themselves progressive if they need to rub themselves in this kind of label of sorts. I care about what you do. And in this case, she has been staunchly anti-war, or at the very least, pushing back on this idea of war. Tusli Gabbard is the one who came on CNN and said, we need to stop army terrorists. We need to stop army terrorists. Now, when everybody else pretended as if this wasn't taking place, if everybody else pretended this wasn't happening, she was the person who actually went on CNN and said what all of these people had to know was true, and yet was not telling the American public, stop arming terrorists. In this case, she's doing it again. And in this awesome way of, if you guys are complaining about our elections, if you guys are terrified about our elections, if you guys are going to scream and bitch and moan about Russia and all this other stuff, let's just do something about it. Let's not position us from the standpoint of a nuclear war with another nation. Let's not escalate with another nuclear power nation. Let's just fix the issue. If you're saying the issue is our election integrity, let's fix our election integrity. If you're screaming that the Russians are going to attack us in 2018, then fix the elections. Tusli Gabbard is putting forth a measure to do that. Let's take a listen to her.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Department of Homeland Security has confirmed that 21 state electoral systems were targeted in the 2016 elections, revealing vulnerabilities and jeopardizing the integrity of our elections and our democracy as people lose confidence that their vote matters and that will actually and accurately be counted. In 2016, DEF CON, the world's largest hacking conference, revealed startling vulnerabilities in our elections infrastructure. We must take action now to safeguard our electoral infrastructure, ensure that each and every American vote is counted accurately. I'm introducing the Securing America's Elections Act, which will not only provide the American people with a voter-verified, reliable, and independent paper record of their votes that can be implemented before the 2018 elections, but it will also address the effectiveness and security of our electronic voting software. We must act now to secure our elections and renew our citizens' faith in the integrity of those elections. I yield.
Fucking A. Fucking A. I would love for this to get passed. I would love for this to get taken up. I would love for CNN, MSNBC, all these other shows that are screaming about Russia and screaming about Trump and everything else actually try to do something to fix the issue, if you're going to say that it's actually an issue. And look, I'm not one of those people. I'm somewhat cynical from the standpoint of politics, whether it's international politics or if it's local politics. I assume that in the same way the United States tries to intrude into other countries, I assume that those other countries, just from a geopolitical standpoint, is trying to do the same thing for us. That being said, I also look at this and say, because I assume that we are also doing those things, and I would imagine everybody else knows, meaning around the world, that we're doing those things also, we don't necessarily have this leg to stand on from the standpoint of escalation. How can you be upset when you yourself is doing the exact same thing that you're bitching about? And ultimately, the thing that you're bitching about are people doing Facebook and Twitter ads. From the standpoint of our electoral system being somewhat, the potential to pierce the electoral system, I think you should always secure your systems. That just seems one of those things that's straightforward to me. I don't know why there's an argument against it. I don't know who's making an argument against securing the system itself. I guess the point that I'm making here is, if you're going to scream about something being an issue, then be willing to do something about it. And I've yet to come across anybody else, and no, I don't necessarily have absolute knowledge of everybody who's running or pushing for this stuff, but she is one of the few people that I've come across that identified a problem, and after identifying a problem, coming up with an actual solution to try to resolve that particular issue. Good fucking job, Tusli Gabbard. If that woman runs, that woman would get my vote. So, there are very few people I would say that about. She is one of them. So, I'm going to end that here. The link is at the bottom. Good job, Tusli. Good job, Tusli. Alright, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you guys can always support through either PayPal or Patreon. Thanks, everyone.